everyone. In this video we're going to talk about the center of a data set, sometimes called central tendencies, which is usually mean, median, and mode stuff. This should be pretty familiar to you from middle school, but we will review it. So we're starting a new unit on statistics, and this is kind of the beginning. When you think about the center of a data set, like here's a data set of test grades or something like that, the center could be a couple different things. And you're probably familiar with these. We've got mean, median, and mode, and they're just different ways of representing like the center of the data. So the mean is the average. You add up all the data points and divide by however many there are. The median, just like the median of a road is like that strip of like grass or whatever that's in the middle of a highway, the median is the middle number. And if there's two numbers in the middle, you average them up. And then the mode is the most often. So like whatever number repeats the most. There might not be a mode, and you might have more than one mode. The mean is the only one that's on your formula sheet, and it looks a little weird. But basically this is just saying add up all the numbers until you get to the last number and then divide by however many there are. This is a symbol for mean, so if you ever see this, just know that it represents the mean. It's X bar, X with a little bar on top of it. All right, so here's an example. Let's find the mean, median, and mode of this data set. To find the mean, or X bar, we'll add them all up. They don't have to be in order for the mean. And then divide by, in this case, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, because there's 6 of them. And let's see what we get. So I'm going to add them all up, and you get 83, and then if you divide that by 6, you get 13.83 repeating. If you're going to put it all in the calculator at the same time, just make sure you put parentheses around that part. For the median, you have to put them all in order. The median is the middle number, but to find the middle number, you can't just be like, oh look, there's the middle. It doesn't make any sense if they're not in order. So we'll start with -1, 5, 18, 20, 20, and 21. So lowest to highest, and then just kind of cross them off until you see which one's in the middle. In this case, we have 2 in the middle because it's an even number. Both of those are in the middle. It's pretty easy to see that in between those will be 19, so the median's 19. But if you're not sure, just average them. Add them up, divide by 2 because there's 2 of them, and you would get 19 for the median. And then the mode is just the one that's there the most often, which in this case, the only one that repeats is the 20. So each of these represents the center of this data. It could be 13.8, it could be 19, or it could be 20. It just depends on which of these you use. This is right there for you. The other thing we're going to talk about is when should you use each of these different options. So you can use the mode even if you don't have numbers, which is kind of nice. So the mode could be like the most common color or the most common animal. It doesn't actually have to be numbers. The other two have to be numbers. We also might want to use the mode when over half of the data is the exact same number, then you may just want to use the mode. For example, let's say you have some test grades and it's like 90, 90, 90, 90, and then 40. You may just want to use the 90 to represent the center of that data because most of them were 90s. All right, now let's talk about mean versus median. Before we do, we need to go over one other term, which is an outlier. An outlier is basically like Buddy the Elf here. It's a value that is either like really big or really small, that's like way away from all the rest of the data. You can have a few outliers, but it's data points that are way outside the rest of the data. So let's go through an example here. Imagine these are your test grades. You had all B's and A's, except for let's imagine what would happen if we throw in a 0. So same grades, but also a 0. Take a minute, pause the video, and find the mean and the median for both of these. All right, so hopefully you've tried that. The mean of this first data set, if you add them up and then divide by 5, because there's 5 of them, is, let's see, 86.8. And the median is the middle number, 88. And then for this one, the mean is you gotta add them up and divide by 6 because there's 6 of them now. So divide by 6 and you get 72.3. And the median on this one is gonna be right in between those two numbers. So add them up and divide by 2. And you get 86.5. So let's look at what happened. When you had all just B's and A's, the mean was like a high B and the median was a high B. However, when you throw in a 0, notice that the mean gets pulled way far down. Like it dropped like 14 points. The median dropped a little bit, as it should, because you have a lower grade, but it didn't drop nearly as drastically as the mean did. So the median only dropped like 1.5 points. So, all that to say, if you ever have an outlier like this 0, you should use the median because it doesn't get as pulled by outliers as much. However, if you don't have any outliers and the data is all generally close together, like this one here, then you can just use the mean so that everything gets included and added up and incorporated. So here's a summary of all of that. Use the mode when it's not numbers or when over half the data is the same. Use the mean when all the data points are kind of close together, but if you ever have an outlier or two, use the median. We sometimes call that skewed data when there are outliers. One final example. Let's imagine you have some sort of business, call it whatever you want, and you got these reviews. So your average rating is 3.5 stars, that's true, and your median rating is 4 stars. Which of these would you use to promote your business? I would probably use the one that makes me look the best, which is 4 stars. So I just wanted to show you this as an example of sometimes statistics might be true, but they might be a little misleading. Like, I'm probably going to use the one that makes me look the best kind of thing. This is a true statement, but it makes me look better than this other true statement. So that is mean, median, and mode.